Greetings once more, dear friends. Fanatical Dragon back once again, and time for a brand new movie review. And this is for a film that's currently showing in UK cinemas, and I believe is also showing in select US cinemas as well. This is John Maclean's Tornado, his second film as writer-director, following on from Slow West that he shot in 2013, came out in 2015, which was his western starring Ben Mendelsohn and Michael Fassbender. I fucking loved Tornado. I think for me it's probably going to be one of my movies of the year, if not my movie of the year. It's hard to look down the line and see what else is coming for the remainder of 2025, but I can't see anything else topping this for me. So Slow West he made mostly in New Zealand with some flashback sequences shot in Scotland. Tornado is entirely shot in Scotland, so yeah, I'm kind of biased and a lot of national pride kicking in. For me, this is the best Scottish movie I've seen in a long time, probably about 40 years since Restless Natives came out, and that was my previous sort of top mark for kind of like small, low budget but highly entertaining Scottish movies. Tornado has jumped straight to the top of that list. Shot over an incredibly short period of time. I think he only had 25 days, and shooting in Scottish winter, which probably halves that number because you're not getting full shooting days with the amount of available light here in Scotland at that time of year. And on a budget of about $3 million. Now, I saw this the same week as Mission Impossible, the latest Mission Impossible movie, which I think had a budget of $300 million. So this cost 1/100th of the budget of Mission Impossible, but I enjoyed this about 100 times more than I enjoyed Mission Impossible. Runs for about an hour and a half. I think it's about 91 minutes runtime, which absolutely flies by. To give you a little bit of a sense of the plot, we start the movie in the middle of a chase with a group of bandits running after a young girl named Tornado, who's been played by Koki. The gang of kind of outlaws, bandits, being led by Tim Roth, who's playing Sugar Man. They're chasing after this girl for reasons that we do not know. Through flashback, we find out that Tornado's living, working and performing with her father, Fujin, played by Takehiro Hira, who some folks might recognise from FX's Shogun series. The two of them run a puppet show / samurai performance, and the puppet show in itself is absolutely fantastic. Just an unabashed love note to Lone Wolf and Cub and the kind of more exploitation side of Japanese samurai movies. So when the puppets are engaging, battling with each other, and they slash at each other, we get limbs flying off, we get blood spurting out, which is really beautifully realised. The puppet show, absolutely phenomenally well done. So they're essentially making a living by performing this around the country. I think we're set in 1790s Britain, though I think John said it is really largely meant to be Scotland. And they fall foul of this gang of bandits really because Tornado sees an opportunity and takes it, probably unwisely. After noticing that a young boy has ripped off money from the gang, she decides to then rip off the young boy and take the cash and try and basically make things better for her and her father. The gang realise that they have the cash, catch up with them, and her father intervenes to try and protect Tornado without really understanding at this point what she's done. Doesn't survive that encounter, spoiler, but really I think ultimately this is being sold as a revenge movie, so it should be no surprise to you that there has to be some event that Tornado is seeking revenge for, and ultimately it's that. So she then has to kind of go up against the gang, partly to stay alive, but also really to kind of seek out revenge for the fact that they've killed her father.
Find her. Find her or I'll kill a fucking lot of you.
Don't move. If you run, I'll catch you.
We have to leave. They'll come and kill us.
Tornado, listen to your father. Defenses attack.
Where'd you get this? You got my goal?
No. I do not want to fight you.
My father was a samurai.
You are your father's daughter.
Am I a samurai? Am I a killer?
生を望む者には死あるのみ。I am Tornado. Remember my name.
A beautifully well put together movie, incredibly well shot by Robbie Ryan, who'd previously worked with John Maclean on Slow West. I think he also recently shot Poor Things. A phenomenal cinematographer, so that it looks absolutely incredible. Shot on film as well, just to make things incredibly hard for themselves even more, shooting in Scotland at that time of year with limited light. But the work they've put together here is just absolutely incredible. Really, really beautiful to see. It makes very good use of the Scottish landscape, and it's all shot very close to where I live in the Pentland Hills, which is just outside of the city of Edinburgh, about a sort of 20-mile large kind of nature reserve, which looks quite barren for the most part. It's not some small forest areas, but for the most part it's just kind of wide open barren fields, which lends itself really well to the story. The timeline's quite condensed, so most of the events in this take place really over, I'd argue, probably about a day and a half. So you're not kind of spending a huge amount of time with these characters, and you don't learn an enormous amount about their backstories, which for me was an absolute plus. I think it reminded me of the way that John Carpenter used to make movies in the 80s, where he only told you enough about the characters to engage you with the story that he's trying to tell. You don't really need to know that much extraneous information, and there's very, very little dialogue, which is also a massive plus, coming off the back of kind of wading my way through the 3-hour plus Mission Impossible movie that was almost all exposition and was so weighed down in it. This was just a revelation by comparison, and a lot of the characters don't really say that much, but they convey a huge amount when they do. There's no fat on the bone of this movie at all. It's all just pure protein. So essentially kind of everything that he's giving you is giving you for a reason. Score phenomenal, and again this is reuniting John Maclean with one of his former collaborators, the composer's Jed Kurzel, who also did the score for Slow West. But I think in that instance, as much as I like the score on Slow West, what Jed Kurzel's put together for Tornado is incredible, transcends the movie to a different place, kind of feels very elemental in his score, and at various points he's worked the score into the narrative of the film. So there's a couple of other pieces of music which are kind of being made by the performers or the actors in the scene. There's a kind of musician that goes around with the gang of bandits, so he's responsible for 2 or 3 musical beats which work really, really well. So you have the character in the scene making the music that you're kind of hearing as the soundtrack, which, yeah, just wonderfully well realised. No surprise that John Maclean gives special attention to the score, the music and the sound effects, because John comes from a background of music. He was a member of the Beta Band, a phenomenal Scottish band, which have incidentally reformed this year, and I think they're doing a promotional tour. So unbelievably hard to put out a movie at any time, but putting out a movie the same time that you're reforming your band and going on a UK and US tour is no small measure or no mean feat. So hats off to John for his work ethic and for managing to kind of get both of these parts of his life moving at the same time, because I think Tornado's an absolute revelation, a real triumph of a movie. For it to be shot on this low amount of money but succeed this well is, to me, super impressive. I think there are some action beats in the film, but don't go in expecting a kind of wall-to-wall action epic. It's not that. They didn't have that much time. I think it was 1 or 2 takes for almost every single sequence that they had here. And whilst Koki, I think, is incredibly able and capable at using swords, she kind of born in Japan, schooled in the UK, so she speaks English very well. But I think she's done quite a lot of sword fighting and that type of preparation from living and working in Japan, so was probably able to run circles around most of the stuntmen and the actors that she was going up against. So the action's pretty simple when it does play out, but really effective, and actually in some ways reminded me a little bit more of the Kurosawa era of samurai movies, where it was less is more, so there's less movement. You're not looking at super flashy, showy fight choreography. You're just kind of really looking at kind of the minimal amount of motion that you need to kind of convey exactly what the story is telling you in that moment. When she does go up against the bandits, it's not really long, drawn-out fight sequences. Generally, she's able to dispatch them pretty quickly. That does not make her a girl boss. It just means that she's going up against usually people who aren't armed with anything other than a small knife or their fists, and she's got a samurai sword, so I think she's able to kind of cut through people pretty quickly and really effectively, and again beautifully shot, beautifully staged. The rest of the cast filled out by the incredible Joanne Whalley. She pops up playing Vienna, who's a kind of part of a separate group of performers. There's kind of almost this sort of gypsy carny group of performers that's travelling around that we don't really know if Tornado and her father are part of, but they definitely are known to each other, and I think you kind of get the sense that that troupe probably kind of largely goes around the same areas, and she's kind of really kind of trying to keep her rest of her band of performers together, and then kind of falls foul a little bit also of Tim Roth's evil gang. And Jack Lowden also have to give special praise to, who's playing Little Sugar, really the second villain of the piece, and every bit as villainous as Tim Roth, but in a kind of different, slightly sneakier, more underhand way. But yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal in this kind of thing. He's got a really good knack for playing pretty nasty characters, but in a very compelling way. So although he's doing some pretty despicable stuff, he's incredibly watchable on screen, and just kind of kept things together and kept things rolling really, really nicely. But I think all in all, I think a phenomenal achievement by John. I think his script and his execution of this has been absolutely pitch perfect. I'm definitely going to go back and see it again while it's still showing at UK cinemas. I would encourage all of you to please do the same. If you're lucky and you're going to go to an independent cinema, some of the theatres were giving out a promotional poster which John had the phenomenal Tony Stella make. It's a pretty incredible piece of art for the film. I was lucky enough, thanks to the generosity of the Cameo Picture House Cinema here in Edinburgh, to get extra copies. So I'm going to do a giveaway of 3 of these posters, so don't worry if you have seen the movie and you didn't get a chance to pick up the poster and you want to, I'll still give you a chance. I've done an interview with John Maclean, which is going to be going up in the next couple of days, and I will announce in the interview how to go about entering to be in with a chance of winning one of the posters. But yeah, for me, just I cannot give the movie high enough praise. 5 stars if we're talking letterbox terms, 2 thumbs way up if we're talking my normal score system. But yeah, absolutely incredible, phenomenally realised, highly entertaining movie that gives a fresh take on pretty familiar themes and tropes, so stuff that we've seen in samurai movies and westerns, but pulled together here in a way that felt really fresh, really vibrant, and just so fucking cool that it's happening in Scotland, because we don't normally make movies like this. We don't have a long history of making kind of genre cinema. Generally, an awful lot of the time when movies do come out of the UK that are genuine, true UK movies, I'm not talking about Harry Potter, Bond, any of these things, because they're really American-owned franchises. We don't get any of the money or the revenue from those things, so it doesn't support the British film industry really at all, other than giving some jobs to a few people who are working on those productions. But this is a real, actual, true slice of British cinema, and specifically Scottish cinema. It's funded by Scottish Screen, and it's exactly the sort of thing that Scottish Screen should be funding. It's a really exciting, interesting filmmaker. It's a really fresh and interesting script, and it's exactly the type of genre that we should be sending out to the rest of the world. Because I think it doesn't really matter where you come from. If you're a fan of action cinema, if you're a fan of westerns, if you're a fan of samurai films, if you're a fan of just great crime thrillers, I think there's a lot to love here. So I highly, highly encourage you to go and check it out on the big screen. That's what it was shot for. John did confirm that it is coming to physical media. It's been brought out in the UK by Lionsgate. IFC Films have got the rights to it in the US, but he's definitely working with Lionsgate, so at the very least we're going to get a UK physical media release for it down the line. But don't wait for it on disc or streaming. Get out and see it at the cinema if you can, because the scope and scale of it looks incredible on the big screen. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching this and making it to the end of the review. Let me know in the comments down below if you've seen the movie or if you're wanting to try and see the movie. I'll also leave a link down to the UK website for the film where you can find all of the available screenings, but I think it's showing at selected places for the rest of this month and almost all of July, so there's plenty more opportunities to see it depending on where you are in the country. But that's it. I've been the Fanatical Dragon. Thank you so much for watching this. I will see you very, very soon, and keep your eye out for the interview with John Maclean in the next couple of days. Cheers.